The East 3 route was born from a meeting of the minds at the 2011 Tourism Indaba in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. The province's MEC for Economic Development and Tourism, Mr. Michael Mabuyakulu, met with the tourism ministers of Mozambique and Swaziland. They agreed that the three-country operation promoting tourism would be beneficial for all parties. 5 years later, and the partnership is still going strong, with the inclusion of Seychelles to the coalition.
When we have a vision, and you are building that vision upon what your heads of state may have done, there might have been doubt about our possibility to succeed and to sustain this initiative. But we are very clear that we are focused. We wanted to bite in sizable chunks, but we don't bite more than we can chew. And hence we are very clear and focused around the small thing that we needed to do. First, we needed to promote tourism between these countries. And today we speak of very growing numbers of tourism. In KZN, we're getting more than 300,000 from Swaziland and Mozambique. So it is working. But secondly, we to talk about the issues of infrastructure. The third thing was to talk about our communities and how our people are able to benefit out of the route. And today we can speak of legacy projects as well as sponsorships, including working with private sector. The other fourth area was the issue of trade and investment. During the last 4 years, we introduced the investment seminar as part of the Eastern route. We have now elevated that to get ministers of commerce and industry and trade to be part of our Eastern route organ. And today we're now speaking about the growing of trade in between these countries. Although it is not where we want it to be, but we are beginning to see positive signs. So 5 years down the line, we can say we have traversed a road that has been quite wonderful for us. And indeed, there have been a lot of difficulties and challenges like in any other, but I think overall, success has been phenomenal for us.
Every year the East 3 route expedition takes place. Delegates from public and private sectors, including media, travel through the regions. The 7 days and 6 nights expedition this year starts in Mozambique and then proceeds to Swaziland, ending in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. Mozambique is bordered by the Indian Ocean to the east and Swaziland and South Africa to the south. This is where this year's expedition kicks off. A country endowed with rich natural resources, Mozambique has experienced rapid economic growth over the last decade. Mozambique is South Africa's second largest export market, with trade having increased dramatically over the last 5 years. The country's tourism sector is also growing rapidly. The Mozambican government is hoping to tap into the business tourism sector by adding more facilities to its international convention centre. This project includes a 5-star hotel, shopping mall, multifunctional conference hall, banquet hall and parking space for 1,600 vehicles.
The Joaquim Chissano International Conference Center, named our former president Joaquim Chissano, will be revamped, of course, will be refurbished and requalified to meet the standards of the rest happening in this project. What's going to happen is that the whole center will be closed and revamped. The furnitures will be new ones, will bring a new technology like digital screens and all that. So this is what's going to happen. We want to bring meetings to Maputo. That's why we're building a 2,000 people conference center with about 4,000 square meters to make sure that we can bring big events and fill up the hotels that we have around here in Maputo. This is a private-public partnership, of course, Triple P project with AFEC from China. The government of Mozambique decided to partner with China because the Chinese government is the one who helped us to build this center. There's a very big impact. When we bring events into the country, of course, there is a multiple effect in the country and in Mozambique, because all other people who are supporting, like helping the event, will benefit from that. We have all these craft people, we have the restaurants filled up, we have the hotels, occupancy rate growing up, we'll have more jobs for Mozambicans. So there's an economic impact even into the families.
This is just one of many projects the government is working on to attract investment to its shores. They are busy building one of the largest suspension bridges in Africa, approximately 3 kilometers in length with a central span of 680 meters, between Maputo and Katembe, which connects the two shores of the Bay of Maputo. This project includes investments in the country's road infrastructure. The bridge and linking roads will have a great impact on tourism, cutting travelling time from South Africa and Swaziland to the country dramatically.
And today we're speaking of a bridge in over Maputo Bay in Katembe that is being constructed, which have got now will be finished by 2017, and a road, and that will cut the distance between Maputo and Durban by less than 4 hours. So there is a visible positive sign.
The local community stands to benefit from these infrastructure developments. On the expedition, we visit a local craft market in Maputo City. According to local artist Zeka Alfiado, there are around 450 stands in this market, where handbags literally grow on trees.
We opened this market 10 of November 2010. This is called batik. It's typical from Mozambique. Yeah, we make those things in Mozambique. This kind, I think that we're selling for much people from tourists from other countries.
After visiting the craft market, we make our way to the Fisheries Museum. There we catch up with small business owner Pedro Tomo, who is hoping that the East 3 Route initiative will help open doors to his award-winning product.
Our product is, we work with natural products derived from wild fruits, wild African fruits. So we innovated from fruits which usually are neglected, and we transform them into beverages, into some sauces, peri-peris, achars, and we're selling them to medium to high class customers in some of the best shops of Mozambique by now. There is a common trade area of us. We have benefits for trading amongst each other countries, so we are going to be fitting into the framework of these agreements. We are going to be looking at South Africa in SADC region, South Africa, where we got demand from it. South Africa, Angola, Namibia, Botswana. We got some very good feedback from those countries.
On our last day in Maputo, we visit the Matola Raid Monument. This monument commemorates the raid into Mozambique on the 31st of January 1981 by the then South African government's forces, who attacked 3 strategically targeted houses used by Mkhonto we Sizwe, resulting in 13 casualties. The memorial aims to honor the fallen heroes of the Matola raid and to pay homage to the sacrifices and contributions made by the Mozambicans towards a free, non-racial and democratic South Africa.
This monument is a way of remembering the people who were killed in the 80s by apartheid regime, because some of the ANC members were living in Mozambique, as you know. So in 1980s, so there was an attack on this area, including the 4 houses around the monuments, plus the houses where the NCs were living. As a way of remembering those heroes of this attack, so the government of South Africa and the government of Mozambique decided to put these monuments as a way of remembering the heroes.
The second leg of the East 3 Route expedition is Swaziland. Swaziland may be one of the smallest African countries, but it certainly makes up for its size with its rich variety of landscapes and abundance of fauna, flora and wildlife. Like Maputo, Swaziland is also building a world-class international convention center, which includes a 6-story, 5-star hotel.
At the moment we are, through His Majesty King Mswati III's vision, we are building an ICC together with a 5-star hotel. It's a massive building and it's a very good development, and of course it does contribute to the initiative that we are talking about, because at the moment, our aim is to finish that development by 2018. As you are aware, that Swaziland in 2020 will be hosting the AU meeting. So by then, that development will be finished. So it is a very good thing for the country. Actually, to put up development like that, especially development that are tourism related, it is a benefit to the East-Three Route. We saw the very same thing in Mozambique. They are busy putting up hotels because the expectation is that later, through this initiative, many people will visit our countries. So even Swaziland is not behind.
With all partners investing in international convention centres, will this build competition between the East-Three Route groups?
I don't think so. I think these things are complementing each other. I always say if South Africa is putting up a development, of course, because we are close to South Africa, we are bound to benefit from whatever that is happening in South Africa. If Mozambique is putting up some good infrastructure, some good development, Swaziland will benefit because we are sharing borders with all these countries. So if Swaziland is putting up a huge development, it is for the benefit of the others. Because if you come to Swaziland, it is easy for a tourist to say, let me visit Mozambique, because Mozambique is just by the corner. Let me visit South Africa, it's just by the corner. So the idea of the East-Three Route is that we have things that are almost similar, even culture-wise. You can see. You get to Mozambique, you can see that this is Africa. You get to Swaziland, this is Africa. You get to South Africa, it's the same thing. So I see no competition. Instead, I see people flocking to the SADC countries, especially our countries.
Walking distance from the Swaziland International Convention Centre is the Ezulwini Craft Market, which is bound to benefit from the influx of tourists the convention centre will bring with it.
That is one good thing when we talk about such development. We know for a fact that our local people will definitely benefit. The market that you are talking about at Ezulwini will benefit. The proceeds will come from the meetings that will be held in that hotel. And not only the markets, but the country at large. The economy of the country will be boosted, because if people come to the country, they come here and spend their money, which is one thing good about tourism. So we are definitely sure that if we put up developments of that kind, yes, we are going to benefit out of them.
If there is big events, we get customers because they come. Even they are there, the Royal Swazi Sunday do come here. Our interest, if they can finish the hotel and make the place look good to the customers, we can be happy.
I think it will be good for the business since it's going to be near with us. Whereas now we are far from those hotels which we used to be near them before. So in a way, this one, since it's near us, we can have, I think the business will be good in a way that most of the businessmen will be coming here. I mean the businessmen, the tourists will be coming with the buses. I think it will be better.
After the break, we go to KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa for the last leg of the East-Three Route. Stay tuned. Welcome back to this edition of ION KZN. The third and last leg of the 2015 East-Three Route expedition is KwaZulu-Natal. It is South Africa's second largest economy. The province is strategically positioned as home to two of Africa's busiest and largest ports, Durban and Richards Bay. During our stay in KZN, we get cultural tours of the King Shaka Memorial Site and the Nkosi Albert Luthuli Museum and Gravesite.
The museum came about in 2004. It's actually located in the original house of Chief Albert Luthuli. This house, actually, he lived here from 1927 till his death in 1967. How the museum came about is that the family, Chief Albert Luthuli's family, in 2003 donated this whole property to the national government to turn it into a museum. into a place that will honor the legacy of Chief Albert Luthuli. It was opened in 2004 as a museum open to the public, and it's the first of its museum to be established in this area here, and recognizing the work and the contribution of Chief Albert Luthuli to our struggle for liberation is.
This is very important because, I mean, people who don't know where they come from hardly know where they should be going. And for legacy projects like this and the values that should really be emulated, it's very important. That is why there is this very key program around the educational interface with the communities around here. Not only with that, I think we are also making an effort to interact with universities. There is an understanding with UKZN where we have an annual lecture. There is one with the University of Pretoria and others. To say both at the level of your education, at the local level, it's very important to actually inculcate these values, but equally important is to actually begin to bring on board people who are about to get out of tertiary institution and get out into the world, because if you can give them the values that are so important for the future of South Africa, those people are the ones that are actually going to be activists in their own right and ensure that we move in a particular direction.
From the Luthuli Museum, the delegation make their way to the impressive Dube Trade Port, strategically located 30 kilometers north of the city of Durban. This 2,840 hectare development is home to the King Shaka International Airport and is ideally positioned 30 minutes from Africa's busiest cargo port in the Durban harbour and 90 minutes from Richards Bay Harbour. Dube Trade Port takes advantage of its prime location as the only facility in Africa combining an international airport, dedicated cargo terminal, warehousing, offices, retail, hotels and agriculture. All of these have support services for each of these zones. For example, the Dube iConnect.
In the modern economy, you can't just strand an investor. We've got a byline that we use, which is the developer never walks away. And the reason for that is this is government-owned land, so we do long-term leases. So we are always here, and we provide the various services that support the zone and enhance the offering, so to speak, to the private sector. In that, as I mentioned in the presentation, we do an ICT service where we have a data center service, voice and data. So we own the full fiber network here, and we are licensed by ICASA to operate voice and broadband services, as well as also data center services. We operate the trucking division, which is Air Road, which links our cargo terminal to the customer and also to other airports. We operate the cargo terminal itself, the international division, so we have handling agreements with all of the airlines on the international. On the domestic side, we own it and we lease it to the private sector in the form of SAA and Bidvest. And then on top of that, we also have a long-term master planning role, as this is going to be developed into an aerotropolis. So we have a development planning infrastructure division, which assists on plan approvals and long-term planning. And on top of that, we have the agri-zone division, which is there to support the broader agricultural objectives, both in terms of scientific research, scientific facilities like we saw, the lab facility, water harvesting, and managing over that entire precinct, which is then operated by private sector farmers who supply into companies such as Woolworths.
DTP is one of the very excellent and very riveting innovation of our provincial government. And we invested more than 8 billion rand in terms of infrastructure. Today we are sitting with a project pipeline which is in excess of about 12 billion rand in DTP alone. And you saw for yourself the construction, earthworks that are taking place, the factories that are coming up on stream, and all can only mean one thing, that people are now, private sector and investors are now coming to the party, and particularly we're now beginning to see the return on our dividends in terms of our investments, that private sector are now investing. As they are investing, they're going to be creating jobs, they're going to be reducing poverty, and they're going to be dealing with the issue of inequality. And for me, I think we are sitting on a cusp of a brighter future and a brighter moment.
One of these public-private partnerships is the Coca-Cola 5x20 initiatives, the Coca-Cola company's global commitment to enable the economic empowerment of women entrepreneurs.
By the year 2020, they would like to have developed at least 5 million women entrepreneurs. We then have worked together with them, and they've come to the party. And this year, we've started to launch training of women, 10 women in Mozambique, 10 women in Swaziland, as well as 10 women in KwaZulu-Natal. Of course, we want to upscale this and to continue to work with Coca-Cola going into the future. But the very fact that a big company like Coca-Cola is intending to make a contribution, when we talk about touching people's lives, when we talk about a living legacy, we want to speak about projects that will turn the lives of people and to make our people to become entrepreneurs. We all know that the most afflicted members of society when it comes to squalor and poverty happen to be women. And in this particular instance, it is quite exciting that Coca-Cola, together with their bucklers in each of the member countries, are willing to come to the party to work together with us.
During the expedition, there was talk of South African province Mpumalanga joining the East 3 Route initiative. MEC Mabuya Kulu says that their inclusion made sense, not just because of their geographic location.
The issue of Mpumalanga is that Mpumalanga province, as we speak, it already has a memorandum of understanding with Swaziland, as well as a memorandum of understanding with the Maputo province in Mozambique. And it therefore makes natural sense that we also share borders. Mpumalanga share borders with Swaziland, they share borders with Mozambique. So is KZN. So when you look at the issues of the similarities and the fact that we are in the same geographical proximity, we almost have got economic functional linkages with these countries, as we do as KZN, and Mpumalanga does the same as well. It therefore makes perfect sense that instead of having splinter initiatives, we try and combine our efforts into one bigger initiative and therefore work together. However, we are waiting for the processes of Mpumalanga to go through the formal procedures of the East Route principals meeting for it to be considered, and that once we have formally approved it, which we don't see why there should be difficulties in approving it, it will then make that Mpumalanga will become part of this. But as the two provinces of the Republic of South Africa, it would mean that ourselves, KZN and Mpumalanga, will have to coordinate our own participation in the East Route together, because we are part and parcel of South Africa, and therefore we'll have to have a much more coordinated approach going forward. And we've already had some preliminary discussions between ourselves and my counterpart in Mpumalanga with regard to that.
Glenn Burridge, tourism representative for Seychelles, added that the growth of the East 3 route should be organic.
I think where you've got partner countries with different capabilities, obviously KZN is a very rich entity. Seychelles is a small country with less resources. I think that you've got to do this organically. You've got to advance in such a way that each person goes forward according to their own capabilities. And I think that I would not like personally to see East 3 Route become too hidebound and hidebound in structures. I would like to see this kind of fluidity that I've seen on the last two trips, where a lot of ideas are being bounced off one another and things are actually developing as we talk. Memorandums of understanding are being signed, and we're going along in a very fluid, flexible way.
Since its inception in 2011, the East 3 route has seen increased infrastructure investment that will not only see their respective economies grow, but also give the people in the regions economic opportunities. The route was conceptualized taking into account the needs of each region and the opportunities for business that would impact positively on local communities, as well as leave a lasting legacy for the communities through which the expedition passes.